Welcome to another episode of Knives Monroe versus the podcast. I am your host, Knives Monroe. How you guys doing? Hopefully you're doing well. I got a good reason for uploading this podcast a little later in the day than I'm normally used to. It's Saturday, December 11th. If you haven't followed us on Spotify, on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, all the things, please do so. If you're listening to this, odds are you're subscribed, and thank you for that. I greatly appreciate it. We're doing the daily podcast. We haven't skipped a day in 2020, and I'm very proud to say that. So going back to the reason why this podcast is late, it's going to be a short one. I went to a podcast meetup in Austin, Texas, and it had a great turnout, the biggest turnout they've had, and about 20 to 25 to 30 people showed up. It was really cool. We were in this coffee place. Everybody was awesome. Nothing but positive vibes. There was no snide remarks, no shade that was thrown, no snobbiness. And I'm comfortable in saying when it comes to the film scene in Austin, it's not as gracious as the podcast scene. Reminds me of the Poets in the Valley, which was like the most accommodating scene that I've ever had the luxury of attending. And so it reminded me of that, and it was really cool. But that's not what this episode is going to be about. I'm going to cut straight to a real quick rant. You can't go to a podcast meetup anywhere without the name Joe Rogan organically just coming up. It's going to happen. And so somebody had said that they want to do what Joe Rogan does. He gets millions of views, downloads, streams, and they want to do what he does. They want to cut straight to the top. And they want a Jamie Vernon, the producer, operator, live switcher who does the show for the Joe Rogan Experience, JRE. They want the views and the attention and the guests and all that. And they didn't ask me this question, but if they did, I would have gave them this as a response. If you want to have the success of JRE, the Joe Rogan Experience, of Joe Rogan's podcast, if you want to be the next Joe Rogan, here's what you have to do. I'm going to give you the secret sauce. It's very simple. Win some kickboxing tournaments. Become a stand-up comedian for 20, 25, 30 plus years and create some 1-hour stand-up specials. Work on a television show for more than 5 seasons, preferably with Phil Hartman if you still can, and Andy Dick and Dave Foley. Host a game show for 100 plus episodes and become a commentator for the UFC. If you do that, I think you'll have a pretty good go at the success that Joe Rogan has with his podcast, which is to say not everybody can do that. I'm not going to be the person to curb somebody's dream and say, hey, lower your ambition, your goal. Why don't you turn the volume down? Of course not. I'm not going to rain on anybody's parade, but carve your own path, pave your own road, do you, create your own niche and take care of your audience and be there for them. I wasn't going to tell somebody since it was kind of unwarranted. It wasn't really asked to me, but it's like you don't just cut to the top of the mountain. You have to go down the road, and it's strange how people kind of lose sight of that, and I don't blame them. At any rate, that's my little spiel. I love you guys so much. We have a podcast intro. Hopefully it'll be on these shows in the next week. You're going to love it. And I have a podcast outro, which I made. And I hope you love that too. It's really going to tie the show together. And with doing these daily podcasts, I'm finding the form. I'm finding the flow. And I think they're just getting better and better. 7 out of 10 of my past shows have had a guest. That is awesome. I couldn't do that if I was just doing it weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, which is basically what I did in 2019. So if you guys have stuck by me through all the iterations of the podcast, thank you. I love you. I appreciate your support. It means more to me than you can ever possibly know. And if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. If you need help with producing a podcast, I'm your guy. We got indiedarlings.net. I don't want to direct you there necessarily, but for people that are trying to go and create their own path, if they need some help, I'm more than happy to do that. I just want to help. I love you guys so much. Thank you for listening. Keep a force field around your heart. I love you.